Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ungainly Titan, and once again we have a new tank. The Tiger 2 played a bit of the Kursk operations from in Russia, the anniversary of the Battle of Kursk, big tank battle, Russia 1943, yes, somewhere this time in 1943, around this time of the year, where basically the Germans threw away their mobile strategic armoured reserve for no particularly good reason, really. I mean, I know there was a salient and all the rest of it, but they didn't have to take it. I mean, it's not like the Russians weren't expecting them. They kind of knew the psychology of the Nazis at this stage, and they attacked a highly defended position. I mean, yes, they had success. They destroyed a lot of Russian material. They killed a lot of Russians. They lost a lot of Germans, and they lost German material. It was pretty much irreplaceable. They just didn't have the resources to replace a lot of the stuff that they lost, and particularly the skilled and trained crews. So they really suffered from it the following summer and the following winter. Anyhow, that is neither here nor there. This is the stock Tiger 2. So we're in stock configuration. We're on Ardennes. We're tier 8, so we're top tier, which is pretty good. The stock configuration doesn't hold up very well against tier 9s and tier 10s. Well, I suppose even I would say top tier, you'd have to be careful if you're bottom tier up against tier 9s and tier 10s, because the armour is pretty good, but it's not that good, and there's a lot of tier 9 tank destroyers who have no trouble penetrating even the frontal glacis of this tank, and practically wiping out his hit points pool in one shot. Some of them more than his hit points pool, but especially the tier 10 stuff like the FE405, the Death Star, the E100, the Aegir and things like that will completely annihilate this tank. Gorilla 15 and things won't leave much left of it. Stocking is very slow. Hull armour is pretty good. It will bounce a lot, but the turret armour is rubbish. It's 100mm I think frontal armour, and it doesn't improve in the next package either. I think I have to wait a bit before I get a decent turret. The final turret looks pretty good, but it's going to be a while. Doesn't have great side armour, but the front armour protection should be decent enough, and at least let the tank hold its own at tier, and probably against a lot of tier 9 heavy tanks as well. Particularly the Russian ones, some of them lack penetration and stuff like that, so you will have, I think, reasonable enough games with this machine. I'm happy enough with it. It seems to be the stock grind. I thought was relatively painless. Certainly not as bad as other tanks. But I mean, it helps that it is a rapid firing gun and with a decent enough penetration. It's much better than the stock grinds in the tanks like the T-32 with the 90mm gun that you had at tier 7, or the Carnarvon grind with the gun from the Churchill 7. 77mm. That is just unbelievable, because that stuff you're up against a lot of tier 8s and it won't penetrate. At least this gun will perform against at tier tanks. Now I finish up bouncing an awful lot of shots, because in this game I actually bounced quite a few of them off these two tanks here at the corner, the KV4 and the VK101P. But they are tanks that they're super heavy tanks, and you kind of bounce a lot of shots off them anyway. This gun is going to struggle somewhat against tanks like that. There are two higher tier guns in this tank as well. I think it's so far it's been a relatively painless grind. The tank has a kind of a bad reputation, but I think people compare it to the Tiger. When the Tiger is top tier, it's very strong, especially when it can kind of dictate the terms of the fight. The armour doesn't necessarily hold up very well, but the rate of fire is huge. So if you can get the drop on somebody, you can take them apart. Sometimes you have a lot of their hit points demolished before they even know you're in the game. Whereas, well, with this tank, well, you have the same gun at the moment, but you're at the higher tier, the rate of fire is going to drop. But the higher tier gun, the top guns, the rate of fire is going to drop pretty dramatically. So you're relying more on the alpha rather than rate of fire to get the damage out, and therefore the armor is going to matter more because you have to keep you alive during the reload. But also it compares to the E75, which is, by all accounts, a superb tank, and is considered to be the best tank in the line. Don't know, I haven't got there yet. But I'm hoping that it is true. Now I know, yes, when you get to the top tier, there's going to be a lot of tank destroyers and stuff like that are probably going to be very, very difficult to deal with, particularly some of the heavily armoured stuff, the T95s and the T110E3s and T110E4s and stuff like that, or just even Jaegerus and things, although the rate of fire on the Jaegeru is so low that it you can do a lot of damage to it while it's reloading, whereas some of the others are actually very formidable pieces of equipment altogether. The KV4 here has managed to bounce a lot of shots, but the KV5 is taking up his attention exclusively, so I'm going to come around and put shots into the flat sides of him. So we're going to finish him off. We're going to take another hit from that T29, and we're going to finish him off, and that's it. So we've pretty much cleared the town. We've cleared this end of the town. There's a considerable amount of enemy left. We do have a nice tank advantage, but the question is, where are they, and what have they been doing all along? So they're probably in that southwestern corner. Kind of expected them around the cap circle, but it's kind of hard to say at this point. I was half expecting to see find a tank destroyer somewhere in the hills in front of me, so when I came around that corner I was expecting 6 cents to go off. I have used all my APCRs, so that is a bit of a concern, and I don't have a lot of hit points left. We are pretty close to the cap circle here, and we're also a bit scattered in that we're in a couple of different clusters of tanks that are not mutually supporting, so there is a danger that if the enemy manages to catch one of the groups, they just wipe us out and take us apart piecemeal and may be able to recover their position. I haven't got a lot of hit points. I'm not sure what the health of the Borsig that's hiding very carefully in my shadow is in terms of health wise, but we haven't run into anybody yet. Now there are a few tanks starting to appear there at the edge of town, and I'm just wondering what the hell were they doing all game. Now they're all low tier tanks, but you know, that T29 on the enemy team I think turns out to be the best performing tank in the team. Now there's a Rheinmetall Borsig here, and he is, well, I've seen people in better positions than that. He should have seen us before we saw him, and he should have gotten a shot off at least. So I mean, it's not like we were undetected coming out of or in the town, you know, and we were probably spotted coming out of the town. Well, we weren't. I wasn't. The sixth sense didn't get off, but the T29 would probably give him an idea that we'd probably be coming this way, so he should have been expecting us. The direction was, I mean, we didn't do anything subtle to misdirect him, so I don't think he wasn't paying attention. Now, I wasn't particularly interested in capping at this point. I reckoned we could deal with the rest of these tanks, but I didn't angle my tank very well here. And I paid for it with the hit, and if I take probably one more hit like that, I'm finished. Now, I should have probably hung back more. But we've capped, and the time is going to be pretty limited. I just thought I might get another shot off, but I didn't. The Panther 2 was quicker at the trigger, and that was pretty much it. But it didn't make any difference to the game. He shot at me, didn't reset enough cap points to make any difference, and if he wanted to win the game, he'd have had to risk his tank, which he obviously wasn't prepared to do, and a lot of people don't actually nowadays for some reason. So they First class mastery, 2,728 damage. 1,100 assisted damage. Probably helps in the tipping it over. We get quite a few experience points. But we get 1,511 base experience, which is... It's on the easier side, and it's more achievable probably than a lot of other tanks. I mean, there's some tanks that you probably over 2,000 base experience to get a chance of an ace tanker. You'd probably do it here around 1,800, 1,900. Should do the job. As you can see, I bounced almost as many shots as I fired, which wasn't good. Should try and do better in the future. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. And if you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.